Africa, who, seems like life is moving on very quickly for him.
Yeah.
And things are just kind of like swiftly moving on.
Apparently, he participated in a triathlon
Yeah.
in Durban here in South Africa not so long ago. And a lot of people are like, why? Why are you doing sports again?
Why not? That's another thing.
That's the issue.
Because,
That's what
he
people are
served
speaking
his
about.
time. I mean, if the legal system is the way that it is,
Yeah.
and it allows the people to be rehabilitated to a large degree,
To serve the sentence you were
serve
given.
the sentence that you were given, you need to move on somehow with your life, eh?
Well, there it is.
Well, rebuilding your life after serving time is not easy, but for many ex-offenders, the real sentence begins after prison. We'll speak a little bit about this. Prisoner rights activist Golden Miles Budu will chat to us on this. And also we've got Beauty Nyandeni, who is a spokesperson of Basadi Ba Mogale, which is a reintegration of ex-offenders back into society organization. That should be an interesting one. And then in our second hour, we're going to be having our debate. You know, every Monday we debate things out. So we're going to be debating this interesting topic today. Is African culture to blame for men's reluctance to seek healthcare? Is African culture to blame for men's reluctance to seek healthcare? And then moving on to the third hour, we're going to be joined by a fitness expert and trainer from Lesotho, Mpho Brown, who's currently in Japan. You know the phrase, no pain, no gain, go hard or go home? Well, that's a good one. Of course, you have to really get into it. But some people say for lasting progress, you have to train at your own pace. I know some people who I work with every day who say that they are training on their own pace and
Yes,
they hardly
we
go to the
are.
gym,
Look.
but pretend they are going to the gym every fourth day. But it's okay. We'll talk a little bit about that later in our third hour.
Wow, the shade. Okay, well, you have that and many more to look forward to today right here on The Move. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's go. Hop on. We're on The Move.
Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter?
Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard?
Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126.
And we will call you back.
So you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am, you know.
It's not just talk, it's your chance to air your views.
Share your opinion.
Engage with the community that values your perspective.
Follow us on our social media.
Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za
And get ready to share your views.
on Channel Africa.
The African Perspective.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Ilikuchukua muda gani kuweza kukamilisha kazi hiyo?
Kwa kweli, ndugu mtangazaji, tunapitia changamoto nyingi sana. Mpaka nikamilishe hii ngoma nilifanya takriban miezi miwili.
Na sababu ni nini?
Ni ukosefu wa management, sababu tunajituma, ni kitu ambacho kiko ndani ya moyo wetu na kosa ule atakaye kusaidia, lakini kitu kama kiko ndani ya roho hawezi kata tamaa. Hiyo ndio sababu tunanishindwa sana.
Na wimbo wenyewe unaenda kwa jina gani?
Wimbo unaitwa Aringa.
Aringa, ni ujumbe gani ulio ndani ya wimbo huo?
Tunaambia wakina dada wale wanaoachika na wengine kutaka kuachika waliokuwa ndani ya ndoa zao. Ila nikasema kwamba wangu ringa, acha kuhangaika, usiwahi kutoka hapa, usitoke huko na mimi. Wenzako wanahangaika waliotoka ndani ya nyumba zao.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Get set and be ready to go.
On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Hey, thank you for joining us right here on Channel Africa. We'll be with you until midday Central African time, speaking life issues, trying to navigate the challenges of the continent, but more importantly, trying to get it right, try to get this life thing right. And I think our first hour conversation goes straight to that matter. Rebuilding your life after serving time is not easy, but it has to be done. And at times you have to confront the uncomfortable truths about how society treats people who've paid their debt to justice. And I think it's us as a community how we respond to people who've actually paid time and actually have gone through the prison system. But for people who've been in there, it's trying to find work, it's trying to rebuild family relationships. So simply to be accepted again in your communities, you face stigma, judgment, at times closed doors when you're trying to search for work. I'm sure that's one of the biggest challenges. Yet the truth is, rehabilitation means nothing without reintegration. We're speaking about that today. We're joined by prisoner rights activist Golden Miles Budu, who's joining us on the line. We also have Beauty Nyandeni, spokesperson of Basadi Bamogale, and that is a reintegration program as well. Thank you, Beauty, and thank you for joining us on this conversation. I'm not sure who we still have there. Is it Golden or is it Beauty? Who's on the line?
Hello, it's Beauty.
Hey, Beauty. Thank you for joining us here on our show. Let's talk a little bit about this. There was a big hoo-ha when Oscar Pistorius was seen in public trying to get back his life to a large degree. We know that the measure of his crime was very weighty on the public. We know there was a huge outcry in the public domain. However, the guy has gotten his sentence and things are moving on for him. But it seems like society is saying, no. We need some kind of informal punishment, even if you are outside of prison.
Okay, let me say greetings to everyone and the listeners. I just want to start here. People will blame the ex-offenders, but the reality is we don't have a jail in South Africa. We only have a correctional service.
Okay, what does that mean? We don't have a jail? Because I thought there were many jails.
I thought it was a jail.
How?
No,
Clarify that.
You just said he's from the correctional service. Remember when you get arrested, you get to our prisons, as we call them, but they say you're going to a correctional service where you can be able to turn your life around after everything that you have done. Remember? So we don't have a jail whereby if you've done something, whether you go to Hangpal or you've given life and there's nothing that has been done. In our correctional services, these people, they get education, they can study there, they can do whatever they want there because of they say it's a correctional service whereby someone can go there and find themselves back again.
Yeah.
So I've been working with people. Mostly I work with the ex-offenders that did. I've got one now. He is a pastor. He's in Westbury. He's assisting us when it comes to bullying. Remember, in Westbury, we talk about gangsterism. He was one of the bosses there. But after coming back, because of he has changed his life in a different way of saying. He saw that whatever that he was doing when it comes to gangsterism, killing, and so forth, it was not right. He started reading the Bible. He started doing courses that comes to being a pastor. He's out now. He's a pastor. We cannot hold him back because of what he has done, the crimes he has done. He has changed because of that's what our South African government is saying. You go there, you get corrected. That's why it says correctional service.
Yeah.
So we came back. So we saw, okay, let's take, because of we are doing a campaign that we are working with anti-bullying in schools. You know, these things, they start there. Then we said, okay, let's take the ex-offenders so that they can tell these kids how will these that they are doing will affect their future. Because of right now, they cannot find even a job or something. They have to do something out of their mind so that they can be able to live. Remember, the system doesn't allow them anymore to work in when they are out.
Yeah.
So now they have to find something that they can do with their life. And remember, when they are starting to do that, everybody is looking at them with that eye of saying, I wonder if they've changed now.
And that's the thing, right? Let's start there. Miles, I want to bring you in quickly before we go on our break. That's Miles Budu, who is a prisoner rights activist. This example of Oscar Pistorius is a big one because he's out on parole, and he just participated a few weeks ago in a triathlon in the city of Durban here in South Africa. And a women's rights organization called United Democratic Movement Women's Organization is condemning the fact that he participated in this Ironman sporting event, and they label it as a blatant insult to the memory of his deceased girlfriend, that is Riva Steenkamp. What are your thoughts on that? Are those two in correlation? He did go to prison, he served the time that he was given, and he went into correctional facilities, as Beauty says, and now he's sort of taking his life back. Is that bad for the memory of the victim in this matter?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, thank you very much for having me. Thank you for the fellow South Africans and the listeners. Look, one, these are people who are grandstanding, led by the United Democratic Movement Organization. Where were they? They are clueless. I mean, it is fine in South Africa. You've got freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of association. I mean, they should have been told that Oscar Pistorius got permission to do whatever he has gone to do in Durban, because he's under very strict conditions of his parole. And they don't even know that. But because they have been off the radar for many years, they wanted to come back and get resuscitated from the grave using Oscar Pistorius' tragedy. And these are people that must be told by the media houses, please, man, don't waste our time. Mm-hmm. Have you done your research? What is that you're complaining about? Because he's done his time, he served his sentence to the community, he's out, and he's very privileged. You're talking about Oscar Pistorius, who comes from a background where there is resources, mixing and rubbing shoulders with the captains of industries, those who have access to means of production, mm-hmm. and white monopoly capitalists. So they must sit down and keep quiet, take notes, listen, and go and do research before they open their mouths, because they've just exposed their ignorance.
All right, Golden, let's take a bit of a break. That's an interesting viewpoint there. Then where's the punishment? Is prison really a punishment? Just like our guest was saying, Beauty, there's no jail here in South Africa. Everything is all about correcting your behavior. So where's the punishment of the crime? We'll talk a little bit about that, because I think most families feel done wrong. Like, no, man, these people get education when they get in there. These people get facilities that they don't even have outside of prison. So what gives? We'll chat a little bit about that after the break.
Annika Longi sur Channel Africa.
Nous allons à présent dérouler notre tapis rouge pour accueillir notre personnalité du jour, l'artiste chanteur Sheki Frey, qui est en ligne de Guinée avec nous.
Je suis un artiste guinéen, un créateur, un styliste, et je fais un peu ce qui plaît à mes fans. Voilà. On a beaucoup de genres de trucs à faire, mais bon, pour le moment, on est basé un peu sur le rap.
D'accord. À quelle période de votre vie avez-vous commencé à vous intéresser à la musique, Sheki?
Bon, je ne crois pas qu'il y ait une période, parce que moi, je suis un mélomane depuis mon petit âge.
Annika Longi, tous les dimanches sur Mix Vibration.
9 to 12 midday, Central African Time.
On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
They say you do the crime and you pay the time. But what happens after you have done that particular time? What happens after a prisoner leaves prison and has to reintegrate in society? I love what Ben said earlier. It's almost as though society expects you to have an extended or informal punishment of the crime that you did once you leave prison, even though you have done the time that was given to you by, the justice system or the Justice Department. We're having this conversation with prisoner rights activist Golden Miles Budu, as well as the spokesperson of Basadi Ba Mogale, who are involved in a reintegration of ex-offenders into society, Beauty Nyandeni. Let me come to you, Miles. there is, I'm sure, a process that takes place between the time when a prisoner, is leaving prison and coming back into society. Of course, the correctional services and the justice system has certain criteria that they put in place that allows you to be in society. What is that criteria? Other than the fact that you've served your particular time, is there a criteria that an ex-offender has to have to be back into society, like where they live, what they're allowed to do, whether they're allowed to work or not, and how they, move back into society?
Thank you. That's a very informative and brilliant intellectual question. Look, the Department of Correctional Services must keep entirely responsible for this fracas and this decadence that we are finding us into 31 years in a democracy if it comes to the reintegration of ex-offenders, whether they were rehabilitated or not. But the possibilities of being rehabilitated in South African prisons, it's almost zero. Those who get rehabilitated properly, genuinely, are people who are connected outside here. They got connections, they've got people in high places and so forth. And these people don't, in fact, communicate with us as an organization because they are told that stay away from that Minky Mouse organization if you want to get out of prison sooner rather than later. Now, the Department of Correctional Services in 2015 spent hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of hard-earned taxpayers' monies to call ex-offenders from all over the country into one roof at St. George Hotel in Centurion. And we spent 3 long days there. Mm-hmm. And we came out there with 9 recommendations. And this conference was led by the former minister, Deputy Minister of Correctional Services, Ulo Tabang Makuetla, and the former National Commissioner, Lazarus Zak Modise. And one of them, I just picked 5 out of the 9. One of them says that ex-offenders desk will be established, tasked to create, manage, and monitor programs that will help preventing crime. That ex-offenders and ex-offenders organizations will partner with government in providing programs that can successfully reintegrate ex-offenders back into society. Mm-hmm. That government, in partnership with ex-offenders and civil society, needs to educate communities to embrace rehabilitation, restorative justice, and the social reintegration of offenders. The 6th one says that government departments, in partnership with civil society, shall implement appropriate strategies and programs that will empower ex-offenders to become economically active, to be employable, and to start their own businesses and cooperatives. That never happened. Okay. And we are still chasing them and keeping them accountable for taxpayers' monies that they wasted and
Yeah. Okay, Miles, there are a lot of debatable issues there because, for example, speaking about, one of the programs should be, making sure that they facilitate ex-offenders' ability to reintegrate economically as well, so helping them with businesses, etc. Those are also things that everyone in society needs and not just ex-offenders. And people might say, well, they actually did crimes and now they're getting special treatment, being, taught and being helped with businesses where the average person who hasn't done any crimes, for example, doesn't get that assistance. But I'm going to come back to you. We need to wrap up. And I want to come to you, Beauty. You guys are involved in reintegration of ex-offenders. And it seems like there's a lot of conversations that are happening on the ex-offenders or the ex-convict side, but not enough conversations happening with the communities they have to reintegrate with. How do you make sure that those communities understand that these people or these ex-offenders have been rehabilitated, and how that community is expected to treat them and to understand that they've paid their time in the correctional facilities? Are there those conversations happening with communities for that reintegration to take place?
No, there are no conversations like that. Maybe I can start and add on whatever that Mel has said, to say whatever that the government has promised is not doing it. When people are getting paroled or people are going out of jail, the victims' parents or they are not being informed. Hence, it comes as a shock to the community to say, how can this person kill someone and then be walking freely like this? Because of the community is not being made aware. There is the law is so parallel. Like, sorry, you need to understand from the person being arrested to jail to court, all those things, and people don't understand about it until to their parole or being released. People don't understand what is happening. Hence, you will find NPOs like that one fighting to say you cannot release someone that has done what. You've never argued the sentence. The sentence was there. You never said anything about that. Now the person is out, and then now you want to complain.
Yeah.
So I think we need to challenge the government to bring this to our community. People should understand that if this happens, if someone gets a parole, this is what is happening. And we, as the NPO, we are trying to, I can say we are the door where we say we are preventing the crime to happen, because of also we are the voice of the voiceless. When it comes to GBV, we speak for the victims. And then, but we don't look at it like, okay, we speak for the victims and then this is wrong. These people must be arrested. We also say we want to understand what is it that has pushed this person to do this kind of crime. But the government is not assisting. For the NPO like mine, like ours, we don't even get funding. We just doing this out of the love that we have because of we see, okay, they say this, it's a correctional service, people get arrested and they come out and they still do the same thing.
Yeah.
What is wrong? What is it that the government is not doing? It means they are not doing their job that they are supposed to be doing and what they said they are doing. When they change our jail to say it's a correctional service, they should be doing what they said this correctional service is.
Okay, Beauty, I'm going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We need to go to our news, but we have to wrap it up. I thank both you and you, Golden, for your time this morning. I know this can be such an extended conversation, and both of you sound really passionate about the subject matter, but unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. Thank you so much to you, Golden Miles Budu, prisoner rights activist, as well as Beauty Nyandeni, who is the spokesperson of Basadi Mamogale, involved in the reintegration of ex-offenders back into society. It's 9:30 Central Africa time. Let's get our latest sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And a very good morning from the sports desk. I am Musibu Di Makura with your latest sports news at the Sawa. We'll start here. So today marks 5 days until the start of the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Morocco. The tournament will run from the 5th until the 26th of July. South Africa, are the defending champions, having won this maiden title back in 2022 in Morocco. Banyana goalkeeper Kaylin Swart says they are ready to defend their title.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think that we're just a couple days away from, kickoff. But we're excited. I know, sometimes the environment and, the weather and how hot it is. I don't think we've realized how hot it is, even though 2022 we were here. But now I think we're all excited. We're ready. Now it's just, dotting the I's and just trying to unite as players and
Right, so Banyana are in Group C alongside the Black Queens of Ghana, Tanzania as well as Mali. They start their campaign against the Black Queens of Ghana. That's on the 7th of July. And this is what Swart had to say about the pressure of being the defending champions.
I say pressure is a privilege, and I think when our backs are against the wall, that's when we really perform. And I will back this team 100% all the time. And yeah, there is a little bit of pressure being champions because that title holds a lot of weight. But I know that once we start the tournament, that pressure is not going to get to us because we know what it's going to take and how we've grown so much individually.
For the field now, Spain midfielder Antana Bonmati has been discharged from hospital after testing positive for viral meningitis days before the start of the Euro 2025. The 27-year-old, who has won the Ballon d'Or award for the past 2 years, missed Friday's 3-1 friendly win over Japan in Spain. She also did not train on Thursday and was taken to a hospital in Madrid on Friday. The Spanish Football Federation said the Barcelona player will join up with the national team in the coming days, with the squad heading to Switzerland on a Sunday. So they're en route at the moment to Switzerland for this competition that gets underway, of course, this coming week. Euro 25 in Switzerland will start on Wednesday, and Spain will face off with Portugal in their opening Group B match in Bern on Thursday. Bonmati has scored 30 goals in 78 games for Spain and also was a key member to the side that won the 2023 World Cup and the Nations League last year. In basketball news now, LeBron James is set to play in a record 23rd NBA season after his agent said the 40-year-old has exercised an option to extend his contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, Rich Paul said James, the NBA's all-time leading scorer, was targeting a fifth championship after activating a $53 million player option for the 2025-2026 season. So James currently shares the NBA season record with 8-time All-Star Vince Carter. His tally of 1,562 regular season appearances is just about 50 short of breaking former Boston Celtics star Robert Parrish's 9 NBA record. So back in 2023, he broke the Lakers icon Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's long-standing points record of 38,387 to become the NBA's all-star leading scorer. His current tally currently stands at 42,184 points. And finally, in Formula One news, Lando Norris fought off a challenge from McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri to win the Austrian Grand Prix on Sunday. Norris' third win of the year, leading home, and McLaren 1-2 reduced his deficit in the championship to the Australian to 15 points heading into the British Grand Prix this weekend. The McLarens utterly dominated the race. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc took the final podium place, 17 seconds behind, with teammate Lewis Hamilton fourth, a further 9 seconds behind. Mercedes' George Russell took fifth, while Red Bull's Max Verstappen was taken out by another Mercedes driver in Kimi Antonelli on the first lap and is 61 points off the championship lead. Let's hear from Lando Norris.
Yeah, I mean, it was an exciting fight with Oscar. It was tough, especially the first few laps, first 20 laps. He was pushing a lot, and I think he just had DRS, and then he could get the battery up, and I had to keep using my battery to try and get him out of DRS. So I was in a very, very difficult situation, but managed to always stay ahead, even though I made a couple of mistakes here and there. And
Right, the time has just gone 9:36 a.m. Central African time. That's a wrap of your sports news this hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Mosibu Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. 9 to 12 midday Central African Time.
On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Dr. Anthony Ajayi, a leading researcher at the African Population and Health Research Center in Kenya, ending mistreatment and building dignity for adolescents during childbirth, mistreatment and what's happening with these pregnant young girls. Let's talk a little bit about how the health system responds to that.
It's currently not a major priority for the health system in general, even for the departments of health or the ministries of health on the continent. And it should be, because what is healthcare if it's not offered with dignity? Because young people can challenge this mistreatment themselves. If they are aware of their rights, they should be able to have channels to report mistreatment and seek redress. And that's really important. Neglect, abuse are unacceptable in the health facility.
Keeping you on the know and on the move.
All right, let's move on right now and get our latest business news.
business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin, and good morning. The Public Servants Association of South Africa says it will intensify its protest action over unemployed doctors until all are hired by the KwaZulu-Natal Province Health Department. Last week, protests erupted across the province due to the more than 150 doctors who still remain without jobs. The PSA says the government must stop making empty promises on healthcare reform while hospitals face staff shortages and graduates sit idle. Mlungisi Ndlovu is the provincial manager of the PSA in KZN.
As PSA in KwaZulu-Natal, we support the struggle of these unemployed doctors. The department has not yet specified the formula for the allocations, but purely based on the population distributions, we believe that KZN should receive not less than 20% of the 1,200 positions. So we are not looking at less than 200. So the minister has not specified for these positions. And the MEC, when she was engaging with unemployed doctors, they are still waiting for the response. It is for this reason, as PSA, we are saying the minister must be able to intervene and the National Treasury must allocate funds so the position can be advertised.
Commuters in Johannesburg, South Africa are protesting the change in the payment system used by Metrobus. The situation is tense at Gandhi Square in the Johannesburg Central Business District. Commuters are expected to start marching to the Metrobus offices, demanding a return to the old system. They raised a list of grievances, among them the new payment system, which they say make travelling expensive. This protester says they are disgruntled because the current system charges them multiple times for using different bus routes.
With the system that we currently have, it was easy because I have to buy trips prior. Mind you, I have to pay about 900 something so that I can get the trip for the whole month. So it was easy because with one trip, I would get to Gandhi. Then from Gandhi to 4 Ways, I will have a transfer. So meaning now, from home to work, I use only one trip. Then from work heading home, it's also another trip. And now they want to cancel all of that, which yes, as much as it was expensive, but it was more reasonable. But now paying twice going to work, now it's kind of be more expensive, which it doesn't make sense.
As Employee Wellness Week begins tomorrow, the Heart and Stroke Foundation of South Africa is gearing up to their Employee Wellness campaign to promote good health and well-being in the workplace. The foundation's Chief Executive Officer, Professor Pamela Naidu, explains how employees can achieve their wellness goals even through a full day of work.
Employee wellness is really around the total wellness of somebody in that is employed in a particular place, or even owners of various organizations and institutions. If you have a policy in place, and despite people perhaps being on private medical aids and so on, but at least twice a year, you should know the health check, if you like, of the total organization. So what is your health indicator? How are your employees doing?
In other news, U.S. President Donald Trump says that he has found a buyer for the TikTok short video app, which he described as a group of very wealthy people whose identities he will reveal in about 2 weeks. Trump made the remarks in an American TV news program during an interview. He says the deal he's developing will probably need China's approval to move forward, and he predicted Chinese President Xi Jinping would likely approve it. The U.S. president earlier this month had extended to the 17th of September a deadline for China-based ByteDance to divest the U.S. assets of TikTok, despite a law that mandated a sale or shutdown without significant progress. Asia shares firmed as signs of progress in a trade standoff between the U.S. and Canada helped risk sentiment, while the dollar dipped on concerns U.S. jobs data will show enough weakness to justify larger rate cuts. Canada says it had rescinded its digital services tax in a bid to advance trade negotiations, bowing to pressure from President Donald Trump. Tabiso Lihuku has more.
The talks are aimed at getting the deal done by the 21st of July, extending Trump's original 9th of July deadline for his reciprocal tariffs. Officials have suggested most deals could now be done by the 1st of September Labor Day holiday. Investors were also keeping a wary eye on the progress of a huge U.S. tax cutting and spending bill slowly making its way through the Senate, with the signs it may not make it by Trump's preferred 4th of July deadline. The Congressional Budget Office estimated the bill would add $3.3 trillion to the nation's debt, testing foreign appetite for U.S. treasuries.
$1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 541, Botswana 13 pula 29, Kenya the dollar is at 128 shilling 534, Zambia 23 kwacha 65. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 riel 48, Russia 78 rubles 43, India 85 rupee 41, China 7 yuan 16, South Africa 17 rand 80 cents. $1 is 72 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Commodities, gold is at $3,290, platinum at $1,363 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil at $67.61 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The rhythm of Africa, the pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese.
South Africa, that is the beautiful Berita with Chiga Izin. Don't know things turn around, man. Don't give up. Things can actually turn the tide, and you can find yourself on a more positive route. So, hey, man, it is a Monday. Let's stay optimistic today. And yeah, we're going to be talking something very interesting a little bit later on. I like our debate because it does get heated. Last week's one was very heated up and very, very fun to listen to as a moderator of it. And it was really, really exciting. Today we're asking the question, is it African culture that actually makes men not actually get checkups or go to the hospital? What is it about us as African men where we don't feel like we need to actually go get that prostate check? Is it because of how we were raised? Is it because of our culture itself? That's what we're going to be talking about. So the emphasis there is going to become the culture, the how we were brought up, not necessarily the checkup itself. So that's going to be the key argument. So we're looking forward to that one. We'll let you know who the participants are going to be just in a few minutes' time.
Hello, Africa. We would love to hear your voice on our radio station. Be part of the fun and send a shout out or greeting message to your loved ones and your favorite Channel Africa presenters. Whether you're in Africa, the diaspora, or anywhere else around the globe, we want to hear your voice. Send your shout out message by sending an email to info@channelafrica.co.za or send them to our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. Help us diversify our sound with your voice. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Have you been struggling to find Channel Africa?
Oh yes, where can I find you guys?
Well, you are in luck.
Warning, radioactive zone detected.
Listen to the African perspective on our brand new SABC Plus app. Download the fresh and easy to use app from sabcplus.com or the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Or just command your phone to find SABC Plus on your phone and check out all this good stuff. And that's where you will find Channel Africa, the African perspective. Oh yes, this is fresh and easy. Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
Thanks to the ladies, I have to be honest. Thank you to the girlfriends, the mothers, the sisters that are always kind of pushing us in that direction. Because most of the time, we're very indifferent as guys to actually get a checkup. We usually wait for a significant other to push us in that direction. And that's when it's like under very much a lot of pressure where the wifey has said, you know what, you need to go get this checked. After many attempts, then us guys who actually then go to the doctor, it's a bit worrying. And that's the question that we're asking today in our Africa View debate. Is African culture to blame for men's reluctance to seek healthcare? It's an important conversation, and we're going to have different sides of this one. So we'll let you know who's going to be participating in that one. What's your take? Why do you think that men don't actually go for their checkups? Do you have any idea why? Is it because our African culture? Is it because we're not really brought up to actually be health conscious? Is that true, or are we just thinking like that? I agree with that to a large degree. I'm on that side that says, yeah, it's our culture, because as men, I don't remember being taken to the doctor a lot actually growing up. I remember like maybe my mom self-medicating me a lot. But then if it was my sister, definitely there was that, no, we need to take her to the doctor. We need to take her to the clinic. So growing up, I grew up just like self-medicating most of the time. My mom was self-medicating me. But I noticed kind of like, okay, my sister is actually being doctor when there's something wrong. If it was something really, really serious, then my mom would take me to the doctor. I'm not saying she was like indifferent and didn't care. She was a loving mother, but she was less worried about me when it came to health checks than she was with my little sister, right, growing up. I want to get your thoughts on that one. Is it our culture just to say, you know what, the guys can make it through this one. It's just a little flu and it doesn't really matter. Give us your thoughts on our WhatsApp number or on that live stream. Just comment below the comment section, and we want to get your thoughts. Remember, our WhatsApp number is +2763 406 9126, +2763 406 9126. Give us your thoughts.
Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a...
Make a crayon with that hit Ngozi alongside another incredible African export. That's Area Star, taking us to 56 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African time. You're listening to Channel Africa right now, and you with myself, Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa. We're going to be speaking to Wandile Dladla, who's going to be taking side A, and they're going to be talking about this particular question. and it's a debate more than a talk. Is African culture to blame for men's reluctance to seek healthcare? Wandile Dladla is a men's mental and health advocate, and we'll find out what Side A is all about a little bit later. I'm keeping things kind of like on pause. We'll let you know what side they'll actually take. Side B, that's all we're going to call it for now, is Tiny Mhinga, who's a doctor, a medical practitioner with a special interest in men's health. We'll let you know who's taking which side. But you don't have a lot of men in your life in terms of like growing up with them, because like you were just raised with a whole lot of sisters.
Yes, so I come from a family of girls only.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a lot. And then just my dad being the only person.
And I can't say you had to like, Dad, go to the doctor.
No, never. Of course not. Of course not.
How dare you? Yeah. But it's an interesting subject, because when you look at the statistics, men are actually dying from preventable diseases. And it's dying, literally.
Yeah.
Especially African men. Preventable diseases are actually killing us because we just like very nonchalant about health care. And not nonchalant that we're not suffering in silence. I think most of us are suffering in silence.
Yeah.
We just prefer not to be out there and actually get things done.
Not
I don't
go
know,
to the
maybe it's
doctor.
just like a thing, like you just have to suffer through it. I think at times we African men just suffer through a lot of things quietly and just get on with things. I'm not quite sure if it's a sobby thing, like it's sad for us. I think it's like it's normal for us just to just get along with things, just move on. Like,
it's like, no, yeah, I have a little bit of a flu, so
it's
what?
not even a flu.
I have a pain. Yeah,
I've got a pancreas cancer pain.
Yes, I've got pain over here, but you don't know it's pancreatic cancer.
But you know,
just
because you
let
feel
be.
it. And you're just
How do you-
indifferent to it.
Yeah, you're
We're
just
indifferent to heavy pain.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of like go walk through it and you're like, whatever, I just don't care. I don't have time for that. I need to go to work. I've got all these things that I need to get done. So like you kind of like indifferent to sort out this heavy pain until things get like physically bad.
Until it's way too late.
Yeah, when you're swollen. Oh, snap. I'm swollen.
Yeah.
You know? And then like, okay, let me go
Okay,
check
maybe
this
now
out.
I need to go to the hospital. Not even to the doctor anymore.
Yeah.
You only go when it's hospital time,
I
never
think the
when
only
it's doctor
time that
time.
really guys go to the doctor like is with a broken bone, because you don't have a choice.
Right. I mean, you can't walk or you can't use your limb, and just like, okay, I think I have to go. To
No
sort
choice
this
here.
out.
But we'll talk a little bit about that. That's the Africa View debate today. Is African culture to blame for men's reluctance to seek healthcare? That's coming up a little bit later. But now let's get the latest update on the news. It's 10:00 hours Central African time. It's 10 o'clock.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, anti-government protests in the Togolese capital and call for amnesty on Brazil riot prisoners. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. At least 7 people are reported to have been killed and many others wounded during an anti-government protest in the Togolese capital Lome this weekend. Demonstrators in Togo continue to demand the resignation of President Faure Gnassingbé, whose family has ruled the West African nation since 1967. The unrest, which began on Thursday, was sparked by Gnassingbé's recent appointment to the powerful role of President of the Council of Ministers, which has no fixed term limits. Dozens of protesters have been arrested.
So what Nasibe has done is that he has actually changed the political system of Togo from being a presidential system to being a parliamentary system. But there is a catch here. It's not a magnanimity for the concern of popular participation of the people, but he actually has created now an institutional vacuum whereby there will be a council of ministers, which he will be president, and here is the catch. That presidency of the Council of Ministers has no term limits, which means that although he has been in power since 2005, there is no telling when he will actually ever step out or anybody else to actually challenge him.
The African National Congress in South Africa has vowed to reflect on the political implications of the Democratic Alliance's decision to withdraw from the national dialogue following the dismissal of its Deputy Minister Andrew Whitfield. The DA has also called on civil society organizations to reconsider their support of the dialogue. Democratic Alliance Federal Chair Helen Zille explains.
Well, we can only work on the handbook. And the handbook says ministers and deputy ministers should appeal to the president if they are going on official business abroad. Now, Whitfield was not going on official business abroad. This was a private trip paid for by the DA, and we wanted to try and dissuade them from withdrawing South Africa from AGOA. And he wrote 10 days before he left. And his office followed up every day telephonically for a reply. So to be fired for the president's failure to reply to a letter is a bit much.
South Africa's National Congress Party Secretary General Fikile Mbalula has urged members of the Government of National Unity to put their political differences aside. The Democratic Alliance Party announced its withdrawal from the national dialogue announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa and scheduled for August. Mbalula explains.
There will be differences in this government of national unity because we did not come here as like-minded political parties. Those things that unite us outweigh those that divide us. So it cannot be that once we differ on a single issue, including the removal of a deputy minister of an opposition in the GNU, then that party threatens with walkaway and threatens with a motion of no confidence. Government is not run in that way.
A delegation of Afrikaner leaders who visited the United States last week will arrive back in South Africa today. Last week, prominent members of the Afrikaans Leadership Network took a bilateral visit to the U.S. to engage with White House officials and other stakeholders. Their discussions, which were held under the theme An Afrikaner Perspective on U.S.-South Africa Relations, sought to better explain the network's position on South African affairs. FF Plus leaders will brief the media about the visit upon their arrival at OR Tambo International Airport. The briefing is expected to begin at 11 Central African Time. FF Plus leader Dr. Cornelia Mulder.
We will, at the press conference, give feedback with regard to the contents of some of our meetings as well as the way forward. We believe that we are in a position now where South Africa can do the necessary so that we can reset the international relations between the United States and South Africa in the best interest of all South Africans.
And lastly, the former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has called for amnesty for hundreds of people sentenced to prison for their involvement in riots in the capital more than 2 years ago. The Supreme Court ruled that the protesters vandalized government buildings in Brasilia as part of military coup attempt. The BBC's Leonardo Rocha.
He denied any involvement in a coup plot. What happened was a riot, and some of those people got sentenced for 14, 17 years in jail. President Bolsonaro said the only way to bring reconciliation to the country and peace is to have an amnesty. President Lula says that President Bolsonaro refused to accept a defeat in the election, and he plotted with the military. He's a former army captain. He plotted to come back to power by force, and therefore they should be punished.
Recapping on your top stories, at least 7 people are reported to have been killed and many others wounded during anti-government protests in the Togolese capital Lome over the weekend. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
6 minutes past the 10 Central Africa time. It's the second hour of On the Move right here on Channel Africa, giving you the African perspective. Thank you so much for spending your time with us this Monday morning. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're refreshed, you're revived, and you're ready for the week, but also that you're looking forward to all the conversations we'll be having within this week right here on Channel Africa. Don't forget that you can join us on various platforms where you can tap into that African perspective. That's www.channelafrica.co.za. All you need to do is click on the mic icon on our homepage and you will be tuning in live wherever you are in the world. And of course, the SABC Plus app is another great way to be a part of the Channel Africa family. Also on Audio Bouquet, DSTV, channel 802, and OpenView HD, channel 628. It's time for the African View. That's our debate feature every Monday, where we take a look at a significant conversation here on the African continent. And a debate comes through from two or more people who are on either side of that conversation. And today we're asking the question, is African culture to blame for men's reluctance to seek healthcare? That's an important question because all around the world, but especially also on the African continent, men continue to die younger, way younger than women do, and often from preventable diseases. Yet they wait till the very last minute to seek healthcare. Why is this? And what are some of those cultural values and cultural things that we have here as Africans that delay men seeking healthcare? We'll have that conversation with Wandile Dladla, who is a men's mental health advocate, life coach, and traditional practitioner, as well as Tiny Minga, medical practitioner with a special interest in men's health. And they'll be on either side of this particular debate this morning on today's African View. And of course, this is also how we wrap up Men's Health Month, which is the month of June. And of course, today being the very last day of June. That's something to look forward to this morning.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. Investigating whether healthcare systems are tailored to accommodate male patients, why men tend to not visit health facilities and only do it when they're already very, very fatally ill. There's also a lack of targeted health education for men. I think this is one of the biggest things here, and we'll find out a little bit more on that one. What's your take on that? Remember, we also want you to be part of that debate. Remember, you can debate with us on +276 406 9126. That's where you can text us or voice note us. We love hearing from you as well there. And we're going to also be talking in our fitness feature. I was listening to a little conversation. I actually at that moment, I felt like a fly on a window because we were having like a team meeting, but two girls were talking about their fitness and they were talking about how they were not going to go for the rest of the week to the gym. That's my producer, Selena, and that's my co-presenter, Palesa. And they try to convince each other, no, you know what, girl, we do this in our own pace. We take our time. You know, there's a lot of things happening in our lives. And, we can just do this in ways that, accommodate our needs. I'm like, really?
We are never having our gym conversations in front of men
I'm
again.
listening. In fact, I'm always listening to these girls saying why they're not going to the gym on that day. I mean, there was a week where my producer was saying, no, I've got my daughter's birthday this week.
Yeah.
The whole week, she had her daughter's birthday. That's why she didn't go. Palesa had a vacation for just a weekend. The whole week she didn't go to the gym.
But you know what? We're improving. We are improving, and also I can't go to the gym on my birthday month. It's a month to
I like the fact that you guys are also accountability partners, right? And then one day one has a bag, the other one doesn't have a bag. And then when the other one doesn't have a bag, the other one just doesn't go as well.
Today we both have bags, and Selena and I are going to the gym, and we're never speaking about the gym in front of Benjamin again. Also, because we don't know if he goes to the gym or not, because he doesn't go to the same gym we go to.
Yeah, well,
so now we don't know if he's maybe
it's not
just
a competition,
like us.
Ladies. It's not a competition. But we're going to speak a bit about this because that's what we're going to talk about. You know, sometimes we say lasting progress in the gym happens when you train at your own pace. Is that really true? We're going to find out from our fitness expert for today, who is Mpho Brown, who will be joining us from Japan, but originally from Lesotho, and find out, is that true? Lasting progress happens when you train at your own pace, or should you put a little bit pressure there in terms of what you do at the gym? That's our fitness conversation a little bit later on. Let's take a break. We'll be back.
Annika Longi sur Channel Africa.
Nous allons danser au son de Haya, que je dédicace à vous tous, chers auditeurs, qui êtes en train de suivre cette émission Mix Vibration. N'oubliez pas, vous pouvez nous suivre à partir de l'application SABC+. Vous choisissez Channel Africa pour suivre l'émission en direct. Nous allons danser au son de Haya.
Annika Longi, tous les dimanches sur Mix Vibration.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to paradise.
Listen to The Upside with Tebogo Lekwaleni and Mateko Musito. Right here on Channel Africa. We bring you good energy, real conversation, inspiring voices, and everything you need to power through your afternoons. This is where fresh perspective meets African optimism, because there's always a brighter side of your day on The Upside. Only on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Proudly African and fabulous.
Keeping you on the know and on the move.
Well, we are wrapping up Men's Health Month, which is the month of June. It's quite a significant month, actually, because, in fact, it's very important that men have their own health month, because men actually don't take really good care of their health. And that is a well-known fact. In fact, men all over the world still die way younger than women do. And unfortunately, from diseases and, healthcare issues that were preventable, that they could have prevented. Across the continent, this still happens. And yet many still wait until it's almost too late to visit a clinic or open up about what's going on inside their bodies, but also inside their minds. Is this reluctance rooted in cultural values that equate masculinity with silence and endurance? Or is the problem deeper, perhaps shaped by how our healthcare systems are designed or how medical information is delivered? We're asking the questions today on today's African View. That is our debate feature here on The Move. And we're asking the question this month whether or not African culture is to blame for men's reluctance to seek healthcare. So we're going into today's African View. Wandile Dladla is a men's mental health advocate, life coach, and traditional practitioner. We also have Dr. Tiny Minga, medical practitioner with a special interest in men's health, to partake in today's debate. Don't forget that you can also participate in the debate of the day by sending us a WhatsApp voice note or a message on +27 63 406 9126, or joining our live stream. We're live on Facebook, Channel Africa, and we're live on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. I'm going to start with you, Wandile. Let's hear your thoughts on today's question. Is African culture to blame for men's reluctance to seek healthcare?
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me. I think our African culture has, for the largest part, been a major contributor to that, because yes, it's looked to like indoor and certain things like that. So men's strength is in his endurance to be able to stick and weather things through. So a lot of men have dealt with ailments and illnesses by keeping quiet, by silencing it out, by drinking what we call izimbiza, which is African concoctions to get rid of a medical problem, So a lot of the things have to do with our mindset, because a lot of us are culturally stuck and we have not moved into the medical thinking. And by that I mean, we believe everything is solvable by the concoctions we have. And unfortunately, there's some ailments that do need medical Western involvement in them. For example, HIV.
Yeah.
Some people have their own concoctions around that, and they believe I'm not needing to drink this medication because it's from the Western world. But we have something in the African space. But my belief is that these two could coexist in your body to make you even stronger. So I think our mental how we've positioned ourselves mentally with culture and traditions, it has actually created a space in our African people that we do not very easily seek proper medical attention.
Let's hear your opening statement, Dr. Tiny Minga. I think it's important to hear your thoughts because as a doctor and someone with a special interest in men's health, you probably see this all the time. You see how much it's affecting men to not, seek healthcare on time or even at all.
Good morning and thanks for inviting us. And I would have loved to be in that background where one delay is. It's a beautiful one.
Yes, I see those cows as well. Maybe he should slaughter us a few.
It's beautiful.
No, I'm saying he must actually slaughter one of those cows for us as well.
Yes, I would love that. I would have loved that. But anyway, I think having, I don't want to call it transformed, having seen all of these that the Wandile was talking about, I myself grew up in the most rural part of South Africa, or let's say Southern Africa, in Limpopo. And at the time when one was growing up, we didn't have all these medical facilities in the past. And people got sick because there's nothing that can stop you from people from getting sick. We do get exposed to flus, measles, and all sorts of things, pneumonias and everything else. And of course, there were some traditional way of solving all those problems. And they were solved because there was no other alternative. And I just want to say it was a lack of alternative. I remember in my case, as a young boy, growing up, you get cut, you get a laceration in the leg, and looking at that background of yours one day, it was not uncommon to take a piece of cow dung and paste it onto the wound and to heal. But those were the times then. I grew up taking water and drinking that water from the well or from the river. But you cannot do it today. It's impossible. The same water will kill you today. I would never take that chance. And I grew up just eating virtually anything and everything that came around.
Yeah.
But it would not kill me at that time. Of course, now that we have an increased population, and not only population of people, even of animals, but also because of, and you cannot avoid it, that our atmosphere and even the environment is full of what I can call antibiotics and steroids that are now we buy all the food, we're getting all our milk from, it's all processed.
Yeah.
That in that process, we include things that are foreign to our body. And these are the things that are currently causing the problems now. So you find that we all have a certain amount of intolerance to things like antibiotics, probably we react to them. We're also taking, reluctantly, we don't even know, without knowing, we're even taking steroids because all our milk, all our vegetables, all our fruits, all the crops have certain chemicals that are foreign in the natural environment. So what is the result thereof is that the same cow dung, the same mud, the same water that I used to drink in the past, why you cannot drink it today is because already you have certain amount of antibiotics that has killed the things that would have otherwise made you survive at that time.
Yeah.
So today you are exposed to things and you have to go through the proper medical or health channel to be able to cure yourself from those kind of things.
Let me stop you. Let me stop you there, Dr. Minga. I need us to take a break because I just wanted us to get opening statements on the conversation of the day. But it's going to be a very short break. We'll come back and continue to speak to you, Wandile, and yourself, Dr. Minga, on whether or not African culture is to blame for men's reluctance to healthcare. I love the fact that you guys speak a little bit about the history of us as Africans and how we've sought healthcare prior. But one would then debate, I mean, women were there as well. They also were part part of rural environments who used, African practices and not, today's modern healthcare practices. But they still do seek way more healthcare than men do in today's day and time. Why is there a difference there? It's 21 minutes past 10 Central Africa time. Be a part of today's African View debate. We'll continue this after the break.
Vue d'Afrique avec Joël Mouteba.
Cette peur d'un point de non-retour nucléaire suffit-elle selon vous à légitimer une telle offensive, Monsieur Talazi?
Absolument pas du tout. Cela fait plus de 30 ans que l'Israël crie haut et fort sur les toits, où il veut se faire entendre que l'Iran serait à 1 an pour obtenir l'arme nucléaire. Parfois, l'Iran serait à 6 mois. Parfois, l'Iran serait à 2 semaines pour obtenir son arme nucléaire. Et curieusement, jusqu'à ce jour, il n'y a toujours aucune preuve que l'Iran a obtenu cette arme nucléaire. Des déclarations d'Israël et de certaines puissances parfois.
Vue d'Afrique. Du lundi au vendredi de 15h à 16h, temps universel.
9 to 12 midday, Central African Time.
On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Hey, it's time for our debate to feature the African View. It is questioning, is African culture to blame for men's reluctance to seek healthcare? Wandile Dladla joins us on the line. That is a men's mental and health advocate, life coach and traditional practitioner. Dr. Tiny Mhinga is a medical practitioner with a special interest in men's health. Both of them kind of complementing each other there in terms of how they started that particular debate. And I want to bring it back to you, Wandile, in terms of looking at the fact that, maybe the mainstream health industry does not reach out enough to men. Do you think it's that, or maybe it's the fact that the culture, even in itself, doesn't encourage for us to go to mainstream medical facilities?
I think the mainstream medical facilities does not cater to the man, and I'll explain to you why. A lot of women discuss ailments that they have in what we call Ama Society and stock fairs and so forth. So they get to a space where they are able to discuss that. I'm seeing Dr. Tiny here and I'm seeing Dr. Mandla there. Because of these two different things, but there's a doctor, one dealer who's seeing me for both, so I don't have to see them. So these things are easily discussed amongst women, and the facilities are catering more for women because the numbers with women are more. So you look at it in a business sense, I would cater for the majority as well, and majority of men, first and foremost, are struggling with mental health issues. So the last thing that I care about is this physical being. So men are struggling internally to internalize the thoughts and the happenings of their manhood. So men are struggling to identify themselves. So therefore, men are struggling to identify the need to nurture the physical structure in which the turmoil is sitting in. So regardless of how much healthcare professionals and facilities that you bring about, until we deal with the African man's mental health, his physical health will always be in the backseat.
Yeah, that's so true, because what Dr. What Wandile is saying is very powerful. Dr. Tani, let me take it to you. What's your take on that one? Because most of the time, it's so true. Women have so many gathering spaces, and I think it's a cultural thing where naturally they will speak about health issues in different social and cultural environments. And men have that, but not that is focused on well-being. And maybe the culture is favorable towards women actually speaking more about healthcare in their circular environments.
I think Wandile is putting it very mildly, and I think he's being very polite. He doesn't want to say that women are much more organized than men.
That's true.
Issues very openly amongst themselves. The men are basically, can I borrow the word, we probably live to impress. I don't want to say liars, but the things that we talk about most of the time are of no real consequence. And every opportunity that women get, they talk about things that matter amongst themselves. And I think they even do it in their households. And they get pushed around by probably their partners because they don't want to listen to, things that are of importance. So it's not surprising to us that women organize themselves much better in any village. I grew up in a village. I know so many organizations in that small village, 3 or 4. And in that village, I don't remember a single coherent men's organization. We join them, but they're in the forefront of organizing things. So yes, when they have problems, they talk amongst each other, they advise one another much better, and probably we would wait until we go to what we call circumcision or initiation school. That's where things are being said, but they're not said directly and openly to us. I mean, I went there myself, and I just now recollect, it's more of a recollection of the things that I was told when I went to the mountain. But women are very organized, let's put it frankly and openly, and then that organization is very important.
Yeah.
So they talk amongst themselves, they advise one another, tell one another where help will come from. And these are the things that men are not talking about, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the last example.
Sure.
As a practicing doctor for more than 30 years, and I've been practicing long before there was HIV. I went through HIV, seeing patients. If a woman comes to me with a problem and I suspect that she's HIV positive, when the results come out, and I said to her, "Madam, you are positive." The following day, she will call me and say, "I told my husband that I am positive." And the opposite is not true with men. You tell a man today, the husband, I'm talking about not just a casual a partner, but the husband, he comes here and you find that he is positive. It will take more than 6 months before he can reveal the same information to his life partner. So these are the things. We don't talk about, we'll hide things. We hide the fact that you are on treatment on very serious medical conditions. We'd rather share it with people who don't matter, but not with your partner. And this is the problem that we have. And these are some of the things that make men not to be open about the conditions that they go through.
Okay, Wandile, let's wrap it up with you. What do you think is the way forward for us to actually find some form of complementary ways to deal with this? Because I think culture still can inform us, but I think also we have to modernize ourselves as men and do the right thing and just go to the clinic, just go to that hospital to just get a basic checkup.
I think it's easier to invite men to Ishisanyama, where there'll be girls in short skirts and half the abdominal region is exposed. It's easier to do that. But I think that if we are going to take this to men, we are going to take it to where men are. So we need to make it so uncomfortable for you to come to Shisanyama because you know there'll be a medical practitioner there who's set up a stall and who's testing.
Sure.
Who's putting up an appointment for you. So the urge is for our governments and our medical practitioners to gather themselves and say, where do we start? Let's go set up where the people are. Because we've set up facilities and the people are not coming to the facility. Let's take the facility to the people. And I think that's where impact will happen is extensive testings in certain places. These mobile units, they need to be mobile. They need to really move. They need to start getting into our communities, actually moving. And instead of me buying a bottle of Hennessy, let me rather pay for medical aid or medical treatment with that money that I was going to spend on Hennessy and Ace of Spades and whatever the case is. So instead of spending and splurging on things that are, in future or even in the near future, they're going to harm myself, my family, and my kids, and eventually the legacy of the African man that I am. Let me invest that into this being. And secondly, Let guys like me who go out into the community and speak to men who are struggling. Let us gather ourselves. Let us work together with health practitioners who I will engage with you to say, how do we set up a men's conference? We need to test for prostate when the men are arriving there. Guys need to be comfortable enough to say, I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
We should not only be competing about size, but we should be competing about health.
Absolutely. Okay,
How
we
many
have to
men
leave
know
it
what
there,
their blood-
unfortunately.
how
We
many
have
men
run out
know
of
their blood
time,
type?
Wandile. Sorry to cut you off there, but I need to move on. Thank you so much, guys, for giving us your different nuanced views on this one. I feel like this debate was based on a more progressive conversation, looking at some of those things that are there in society and how we need to move things forward. Thank you to Wandile Dladla, men's mental and health advocate, life coach, and traditional practitioner. Thank you to Dr. Tiny Mhinga, medical practitioner with special interest in men's health. We really appreciate you both for giving us your time.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, let's quickly move on and get our sports update. Let's find out what we have there.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And a very good morning from the sports desk. I am Musibu Di Makura with your latest sports news at the Sawa. So the South African Football Association President Dr. Danny Jordan has continued to claim that he is a victim of a sustained media campaign after a motion to suspend him failed to materialize at the SAFA Congress in Sandton, Johannesburg this past weekend. So building up the highly anticipated Congress, it had been widely reported that Jordan was going to face a motion of no confidence over his involvement in a fraud and corruption case. After the step-aside motion, which was later withdrawn by the 4 disgruntled SAFA regions, Jordan did not hold back in what he called a campaign against his name.
What the members recognize that there are 3 publications in the country out of more than 300 which consistently over the last year has beat the same drum and still went to beat it this morning. Nothing happened here. We had a successful Congress. We had dealt with all the reports. We had debates, and SAFA is intact. But if you read those 3 newspapers, you will see a different picture is generated. And we must just ask why? Why?
So, 4 SAFA regions, the Francis Bard, the Dr. Kenneth Kawunda, the Jogabi, as well as the Utukela regions, had called for the immediate provisional suspension of Jordan as well as the Chief Executive Officer Hroni Kluyo due to their arrest as well as alleged involvement in fraud and corruption. Jordan says the case against him has no basis as the 3 theft charges against him and Kluyo have already been withdrawn in court.
Of the matters that's in the court, 3 matters that have already been withdrawn. And you must go and see what it relates to. It relates to the very issues that you raise. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. They went to tell the Hawks that the payment to SAFA President's Hotel is a payment to SAFA President. It's false. It's wrong. But that drum, you are still beating it.
On to some cricket news now. Zimbabwe's opening batsman Brian Bennett was ruled out of the rest of the first test against South Africa on Sunday after being diagnosed with a mild concussion. So Bennett had scored 139 runs on his previous test appearance against England in Nottingham just last month and had scored 19 of 24 balls on the second day of the match when he attempted a hook against fast bowler Kwena Mapaka and was struck on the helmet. Now, after lengthy treatment on the field, the 21-year-old resumed batting and faced 3 more deliveries in the next over from Cody Yusuf before walking off the pitch. Now, Zimbabwe's cricket also announcing during the lunch break that Bennett had been ruled out of the match and is now keeping whether concussion protocols would be replaced by Prince Masuvere in the rest of this match. And just currently looking at the action at the moment, having started just 5 minutes ago, South Africa on 81 for the loss of 2 wickets. This after 20 overs. This, of course, is South Africa's second innings. South Africa leading by 248 runs. In some golf news now, 20-year-old Aldridge Potgieter, the youngest player on the PGA Tour, has become the youngest South African to win on the toughest golf tour in the world. Potgieter, who lost in the playoff in the Mexican Open earlier on this year, his rookie year on tour needed 77 holes for his first win. He beat American Max Greisman with a birdie on the fifth playoff hole to win the Rocket Classic at the Detroit Golf Club in Michigan earlier. Now, the duo, as well as another American, Chris Kirk, completed the regulation 72 holes in 266, which is about 22 under par, before Kirk was eliminated after a bogey on the second playoff hole. Another South African in his rookie season, Tristan Lawrence, finished in a tied for 8th, 3 shots behind Potgieter. And finally, LeBron James is set to play in a record 23rd NBA season after his agent said the 40-year-old has exercised an option to extend his contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, Rich Paul said James, the NBA's all-time leading scorer, was targeting a fifth champion after activating a $53 million player option for the 2025-2026 season. So James currently shares the NBA season record with 8-time All-Star Vince Carter. His tally of 1,562 regular season appearances in just 50 short of the breaking former Boston Celtics star Robert Parrish's NBA record. So back in 2023, he broke Lakers icon Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's long-standing points record of 38,387 to become the NBA's all-leading goal scorer. He currently sits at 42,182 points. And that's a wrap from the sports desk at this hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. 10:37 a.m. Central African Time. I'm back with more sports news in the next hour. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Mosibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
It's just a public service announcement.
This July, your weekday afternoons get a bold new boost. Introducing Matseko Mosito, who joins Tebogo Likweleni on The Upside.
I love it. I love it for us. Oh my goodness.
Bringing you fresh perspectives, inspiring stories, and the energy to carry you through the day. From culture and lifestyle to real talk, The Upside keeps it positive, powerful, and proudly African.
And fabulous.
The new Upside kicks off on the 1st of July, weekdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Only on Channel Africa, The African Perspective.
The African Perspective.
Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
Hey, it's 10:38 Central African Time. Let's quickly move on and find out what's happening in our business.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin, and good morning. Egypt's economy grew by 4.77% in the third quarter of its 2024-25 fiscal year, up from 2.2% in the same quarter a year earlier as manufacturing activity recovered. The fiscal year runs from July to June. Manufacturing activity grew by 16.3% in the third quarter, recovering from a 3.9% decline in the same quarter of the previous fiscal year. Oil and natural gas extraction continued to decline, contracting by 10.38%. The Public Servants Association of South Africa says it will intensify its protest action over unemployed doctors until all are hired by the KwaZulu-Natal Province Health Department. Last week, protests erupted across the province due to the more than 150 doctors who still remain without jobs. The PSA says the government must stop making empty promises on healthcare reform while hospitals face staff shortages and graduates sit idle. Lungisi Ndlovu is the provincial manager of the PSA in KwaZulu-Natal.
as PSA KwaZulu-Natal, we support the struggle of these unemployed doctors. The department has not yet specified the formula for the allocations, but purely based on the population distributions, we believe that KZN should receive not less than 20% of the 1,200 positions. So we are not looking at less than 200. So the minister has not specified for these positions. And the MEC, when she was engaging with unemployed doctors, they are still waiting for the response. It is for this reason, as PSA, we are saying the minister must be able to intervene and the National Treasury must allocate funds so the position can be advertised.
Still in South Africa, commuters in Johannesburg are protesting the change in the payment system used by Metro Bus. The situation is tense at Gandhi Square in the Johannesburg Central Business District. Commuters are expected to start marching to the Metro Bus offices, demanding a return to the old system. They raise a list of grievances, among them the new payment system, which they say make travelling expensive. This protester says they are disgruntled because the current system charges them multiple times for using different bus routes.
With the system that we currently have, it was easy because I have to buy trips prior. Mind you, I have to pay about 900 something so that I can get the trip for the whole month. So it was easy because with one trip, I would get to Gandhi, then from Gandhi to 4 Ways, I will have a transfer. So meaning now, from home to work, I use only one trip. Then from work heading home, it's also another trip. And now they want to cancel all of that, which, yes, as much as it was expensive, but it was more reasonable. But now paying twice going to work, now it's kind of be more expensive, which it doesn't make sense.
U.S. senators have been debating a contentious tax and spending bill late into the night. Democrats who are fiercely opposed to the legislation are trying to delay a final vote on the bill. U.S. President Donald Trump is keen to sign it into law by the 4th of July, public holiday. Few Republicans have spoken so far, while the Democrats have repeatedly denounced the bill, particularly for cutting health care coverage for millions of poor Americans. The Senate Minority Leader, Democrat Chuck Schumer, says the bill would inflate the already vast national debt of the U.S.
Republicans are about to pass the single most expensive bill in U.S. history to give tax breaks to billionaires while taking away Medicaid, SNAP benefits, and good-paying jobs for millions of people. CBO just this morning said it will explode the debt by $3.3 trillion.
Asia shares firmed as signs of progress in a trade standoff between the U.S. and Canada help risk sentiment, while the dollar dipped on concerns U.S. jobs data will show enough weakness to justify larger rate cuts. Canada says it had rescinded its digital services tax in a bid to advance trade negotiations, bowing to pressure from President Donald Trump. Tabisoli Huku has more.
The talks are aimed at getting the deal done by the 21st of July, extending Trump's original 9th of July deadline for his reciprocal tariffs. Officials have suggested most deals could now be done by the 1st of September Labor Day holiday. Investors were also keeping a wary eye on the progress of a huge U.S. tax cutting and spending bill slowly making its way through the Senate, with the signs it may not make it by Trump's preferred 4th of July deadline. The Congressional Budget Office estimated the bill would add $3.3 trillion to the nation's debt, testing foreign appetite for U.S. treasuries.
Financial indicators at this hour: $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 541, Botswana 13 pula 29, Kenya the dollar is at 128 shilling 534, Zambia 23 kwacha 65. BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 48, Russia 78 rubles 43, India 85 rupee 41, China 71.16, South Africa $1 is at 17 rand 80 cents. $1 is 72 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Commodities: gold is at $3,294, platinum at $1,368 per ounce, the price of Brent crude oil at $67.53 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. June is Youth Month in South Africa. Celebrate Africa's young voices with us. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move. Platform. It's an opportunity with 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle. We deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe.
This one is titled Bossa, giving us some good vibes this Monday morning. You know, as we were speaking about men's health, today is the final day of Men's Health Month, which is the month of June. And I think it is a very important month because, number one, it's not a conversation that is had often. Men don't have a lot of conversations about their health, both physical and mental health. But one person who actually did speak quite loudly about his well-being was a social media influencer called Tana. In fact, they have a page. Well, they had a page with his wife called Tana and Shay. And on this page, they documented his life experience with cancer. So, you know, they documented a lot of things about, his experience and journey trying to treat his cancer. And as he was getting iller and iller, there were so many things that he spoke about in his journey that he was quite open about, in his very long battle with this terrible illness. He even went to the extent where he had a live funeral where he attended his funeral. I think we spoke about it a few months ago, and he had his family and friends come in, and it was also documented on social media where he was there, and everybody, was speaking just about all the things that he has done, and all the conversations that happen at a funeral, and he was there to experience it. Unfortunately, just last week, this particular social media influencer had lost his battle, his years-long battle with cancer. But what I found very interesting is that he then, put out a video. Well, obviously his wife put out a video that he intended to be put out. And it makes me wonder, do people actually know what you want after your passing? And do you have the words, or do people even understand, how we feel, before we pass, and what we want our final wishes to be? So this is Tana, and this is the video that was posted.
Hey, it's me, Tanner. If you're watching this, I am dead. Everyone, I had a heck of a life. I I decided to make this video announcing my death because I saw someone did that like a year or so ago, and I think it's a good opportunity to get all your thoughts out, and then also you can be thoughtful about what your spouse or your partner might need. And she probably needs some time to grieve. So I wanted to make a video, or she could just post it and you guys would know, and she could take a break as long as she needed to from social media or whatever. But you guys, seriously, thank you for all that you did for me while I was here, and all the support and love that you showed me and my little family. I would ask at this time if you could, continue to offer prayers and stuff for my sweetheart Shay and my baby girl Jalza. We should have most stuff covered financially, but I mean, Shay can let you know if we need help or anything. But honestly, anything you guys can do for my family when I'm not here will be greatly appreciated.
Now, this is obviously just a little snippet of what is around a 5 or 6 minute video that he put out. Just speaking about some of the needs they would have and how he would like, his family to be supported, and the things that he doesn't want people to send to them, and the fact that, he appreciates really all the audiences that they had over the years documenting his journey. But it had me thinking whether or not, if I passed on today, or if any of us passed on today, whether people in our lives knew what to do, they understood, where we come from, but also that they knew what our sentiments were from the bottom of our heart. And I know it's a tough conversation to have, and I'm glad, in fact, that it's happening, today as we wrap up Men's Mental Health Month, because we don't actually get to hear a lot about what men think or what men feel, especially when it comes to some of the most sentimental conversations we're having. So I know it's a little bit of a downer on a Monday morning, but maybe that's the question I want to ask you today. Do your loved ones know how you feel if you were to pass on? Do they know how to feel about your funeral, and not just your funeral, but beyond that, how you think about them, how you feel about them, and also what you want them to keep as part of your lifelong memory? So just something to think about this morning, and that's exactly what it invoked in me, a thought-provoking conversation that definitely should be had on whether or not we speak enough about how we feel and the sentiments that we have, especially if we were to pass on. So not the most jolly and happiest of Monday TikTok conversations, but definitely an important one we should have. Let me know what you think about that one. +27 63406 9126.
Bonjour à tous. Nous aimerions entendre votre voix sur notre station de radio. Faites-nous plaisir et envoyez un petit mot ou un message de salutation à vos proches ou à vos présentateurs préférés de Channel Africa. Que vous soyez en Afrique, dans la diaspora ou n'importe où ailleurs dans le monde, nous voulons vous entendre. Envoyez vos messages de dédicace par email à info@channelafrica.co.za ou postez sur notre page Facebook, Twitter et Instagram avec le hashtag dédicace. Vous pouvez aussi nous faire une note vocale sur notre WhatsApp +27 66 408 87 42.
If you are an upcoming artist looking to showcase your music to a wider audience, or just looking to promote your music on the radio, we can help. But there are a few things you can do to increase your chances of success. 1. Send your music to music@channelafrica.co.za. 2. We require the following information to help you best: your label, your ISRC code, title of the song, performer, composer, publisher, author, language, genre. These are the things we would like to compose your musical bio. 3. Listen to Channel Africa play your music on the radio. The perfect soundtrack for your day. With Channel Africa and your music, you will never be bored because we play your music. Experience the best African music on Channel Africa, the African perspective. We are up. We are ready. We are on the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama on Channel Africa.
All right, it's 10:55 Central African time. Let's get the conversations going. And still coming up, we will be looking at this very controversial internal debate that we have here in our show. Whether, you go to the gym using your own pace, or do you just wing it? Or you become very stringent.
You know what? When we were having this conversation, I'm like, yeah, there's a difference between winging it and, of course,
not going.
There's a difference between winging it and not going or unaccountability, right? Because if you say you're winging your plan without maybe the help of a personal trainer, it means you have your plan in mind, but there still needs to be a plan, right? But the latter is just like deciding. The latter is deciding when you want to go.
You have a lot of guilt feelings
and when you don't want to go.
When it comes to this
Actually,
issue.
I don't have guilt at all, to be honest. I don't have guilt. I've always had a very
not so close relationship with the gym.
With the gym, right? Because I don't know, the space itself, doesn't really appeal to me. And also just my reasoning for gymming, it's just not my favorite thing to do. And that's just the truth, right?
But you've made a decision.
I have made a decision to do it this year. And I think I've been consistent, Nyana.
More consistent than you were with me.
More consistent than last year.
And I'm not really impressed. I'm like, I'm glad I'm not part of this mixture.
Why?
Because there's just like randomness in how you're doing it.
Yeah, but we don't know how much randomness.
No, we're talking about
you.
We're not talking about me.
No, but you also.
No,
you're judging us,
I'm
Benjamin.
I don't raise this issue.
You're judging me
you
and
guys
Selena.
have exposed it to me, and we're talking amongst the three of us.
You're judging
and I can
Selena
scrutinize it independently.
No, you're not allowed to scrutinize it independently. Selena and I will scrutinize it ourselves.
Okay. After this conversation, right? Yeah. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? Especially like in terms of like, no, honestly, I'm serious, because once you make like, it's difficult. Going to the gym is difficult. It's not easy. It's kind of tough, right? And it's not tough because you don't want to get there and you don't want to do the things that you get there. But I think just getting there is tough. You know, I think there's the feeling of like just getting there. I go through that and I'm like, okay, let me just go, right? I'll go, okay? And then I'll spend an hour and I'll leave, right? And I'll feel better for going. But I think that religiosity around should I go or not, that's something that should actually leave your mind. Like if it's like coming to work, you don't debate it.
No, I have to come to work.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But like when we go to the gym, we almost always debate it.
True.
Even when you have your bag in the car.
Yes.
You're probably still debating, should I go or not?
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like it. But like, you always have that debate in your mind whether you should go or not.
Yeah. Personally, I feel zero guilt when I don't go to the gym. It's just
maybe that's the problem. Yeah.
It's just my relationship with the gym itself.
Yeah.
I feel zero guilt, and sometimes that is a problem. But for me, it's not a problem because I feel like there are still ways that I am achieving the goals that I go to gym for. Other ways that I still achieve those things.
Is that you convincing yourself?
No, it's not. I actually feel zero guilt at all. But I know a lot of people do feel guilt when they don't go to the gym, especially if they have
in terms
specific...
of the alternative, saying, okay, I'll find an alternative. Is that you convincing yourself why you feel not guilty about it?
No. Sometimes I don't find an alternative. Sometimes I'm like, I'm actually happy to do the things that I want to do when I want to do them. So it's not all the time. And I say, no, I'm not going to gym today. I'll do the alternative thing. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm not doing an alternative thing. I'm going to do something else that I want to do with my time.
But that's
and
what we're talking about
that.
in our fitness feature. That kind of thing. Exactly. This is what happens when you go to the gym. You debate it, right? You always kind of having that mental conversation. And sometimes you'll replace it with a completely different activity. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Do you go to the gym with this kind of very permanent schedule that, you know what, I'm committed. I'm going to go every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday. If I don't go on a Wednesday, I'll replace it by going on a Sunday because I just want to go 3 times a week and that's the commitment? Or do you just go, okay, whenever I feel like it, I'll go as long as I'm there and trying to do it, get it done, that should be okay. That's the conversation we're having a little bit later on. But before we get into it, I want to get your thoughts about this one. +2763 406 9126. I think we're all guilty of it, you know. The gym is a hard place to go to. It's not an easy place to be at. But should we have consistency, or should we just do it when we feel like doing it? And I think it's also okay to do it when you feel like it. I'm not righteous on any part. I don't feel like any Palesa is wrong or there's a way of doing it. But I'm looking forward to the conversation with our fitness expert who will talk a little bit about that. What's your take on it? +2763 406 9126. It's news time.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, the government of national unity in South Africa under threat and call for amnesty on Brazil riot prisoners. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. The African National Congress Party in South Africa says any possible motion of no confidence by the Democratic Alliance Party against President Cyril Ramaphosa will be deemed as the DA's walkout from the Government of National Unity. The DA has withdrawn from the national dialogue that's scheduled for August, citing unhappiness at the axing of its Deputy Minister, Andrew Whitfield, after his unauthorized visit to the U.S. The DA has given President Cyril Ramaphosa an ultimatum to fire what it calls corrupt ANC ministers in Ramaphosa's cabinet. Speculation is also rife that the second biggest GNU partner could table a motion of no confidence on the president. But ANC spokesperson Mahlengi Bengu Mutsiri says this could be the end of the DA in the GNU.
I can say with certainty that motion will not pass in the House. And if the DA decides to do that, they're essentially saying that they've walked out of the Government of National Unity. We know that they've been planning, or a particular group within the DA been planning the matter of passing a motion of no confidence. We were expecting that was what was going to be spoken about. But we do want to say that should they take that course of action, the ANC very ready to make sure that we defend.
South Africa's African National Congress Party Secretary General Fikile Mbalula has meanwhile urged members of the Government of National Unity to put their political differences aside. Mbalula says the national dialogue is not a political initiative, but a South African program on how to structure an inclusive and sustainable nation. Mbalula explains.
There will be differences in this Government of National Unity because we did not come here as like-minded political parties. Those things that unite us outweigh those that divide us. So it cannot be that once we differ on a single issue, including the removal of a deputy minister of an opposition in the GNU, then that party threatens with walkaway and threatens with a motion of no confidence. Government is not run in that way.
A delegation of Afrikaner leaders who visited the United States last week will arrive back in South Africa today. Last week, prominent members of the Afrikaans Leadership Network took a bilateral visit to the U.S. to engage with White House officials and other stakeholders. Their discussions, which were held under the theme An Afrikaner Perspective on U.S.-South Africa Relations, sought to better explain the network's position on South African affairs. EFF Plus leader Dr. Corneille Mulder, Dr. Theo de Jager, and Southern African Agri Initiative, and Mr. Gerard Peppenfos of NIASA will brief the media about their visits upon their arrival at the OR Tambo International Airport.
We will, at the press conference, give feedback with regard to the contents of some of our meetings, as well as the way forward. We believe that we are in a position now where South Africa can do the necessary so that we can reset the international relations between the United States and South Africa in the best interest of all South Africans.
The Democratic Republic of Congo marks Independent Day today. The DRC celebrates 65 years of independence from Belgian colonial powers. DR Congo is the second largest nation in Africa. In a reminder of the conflict that has driven the country since independence, this is also a time to place wreaths on the grave sites of loved ones who have died in civil war and fighting. Lastly, the former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has called for amnesty for hundreds of people sentenced to prison for their involvement in riots in the capital more than 2 years ago. The Supreme Court ruled that the protesters vandalized government buildings in Brasilia as part of the military coup attempt. The BBC's Leonardo Rocha.
He denied any involvement in a coup plot. What happened was a riot, and some of those people got sentenced for 14, 17 years in jail. President Bolsonaro said the only way to bring reconciliation to the country and peace is to have an amnesty. President Lula says that President Bolsonaro refused to accept a defeat in the election, and he plotted with the military. He's a former army captain. He plotted to come back to power by force, and therefore they should be punished.
Recapping on your top stories, the African National Congress Party in South Africa says any possible motion of no confidence by the Democratic Alliance Party against President Cyril Ramaphosa will be deemed as the DA's walkout from the Government of National Unity. The DA has withdrawn from the national dialogue scheduled for August, citing unhappiness over the axing of its Deputy Minister Andrew Whitfield after his unauthorized visit to the U.S. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Ntsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
7 minutes past 11 o'clock Central African time. You are listening to On the Move. We're having this conversation off air, and more conversations are arising from this one. Should you go to the gym using phrases like no pain, no gain? I gotta go hard. I gotta go hard, or I need to go home. And I think that's it. It's either you go hard or you do go home, because that's the psychology around going to the gym. And we're speaking about that physical gym that you have to go to, right? Having that kind of gym membership that you have to actually get into your car, get into a taxi, take that little walk and go to a particular gym and just get things going? Or do you think, like, when you doing this, it's all about your pace? You can go once a week, 1 week, and then next week you go twice a week, and that's okay as long as you just getting that body moving. That's the question that we're speaking about. Is rhythm important, or should you be sporadic about it? And what are you chasing? Because someone off air was saying, well, what are you rushing for? What's the big battle? It's not a war. You're just going to the gym. It's not that heavy. It's not that hectic. So we're going to be speaking about this one, and we'll be speaking to Tlotliso Molefi, a fitness expert trainer at Misfit Gym, which is based in Lesotho.
Yeah, man, it's a difficult conversation, because if you're saying that you have your own pace when you go to gym, is it really your own pace? Is there a plan around that particular pace? Or are you just being like, yeah, sometimes I go, sometimes I don't, especially if it's something that really matters to you. If you're doing it for, health reasons, if you're trying to look a particular way, you're not going to reach those goals that you have if you don't go to the gym. So what exactly does it mean to be working out at your own pace? Is it something that's strategic? Is it something that is mindful? Or is it just all over the place? Let's go into that conversation in this hour of the show. And of course, we continue to engage in these conversations together on our socials as well. We do continue to be live on our Facebook and on our YouTube. So join our live stream. Want to know where you're tuned in from anywhere in the world, and of course on the African continent. And of course, we also want to hear your thoughts on the conversations of the day. What's your relationship with the gym, and what's your relationship with exercise? Because I feel like we're also having two different conversations. Exercise can take place outside of the gym, but it has to be intentional. So it's not just about the gym itself as a building, but really the exercise on its own, whether it's inside the building or outside of the building. It's the intention of exercising that matters. It's 10 minutes past 11 Central Africa time. Let's go into this conversation.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix. Kwa nini wanamuziki wengi sana wa kizazi kipya hawafiki mbali pale wanapofanya muziki?
Ni kwa sababu kitu cha kwanza ambacho naweza nikaongelea nikagusia zaidi sana ni kusema kuwa wale wasanii wanapotoa ngoma yao ya kwanza ikiwa kama kahiti kidogo tu, wanaanza kutamba mitaani, wanaonekana kama wapo majuu zaidi sana.
Kuna wanamuziki wengine ambao wanakimbilia kwa waganga wa jadi. Hivi muziki na dawa vinaendana?
Kitu cha kwanza naweza nikasema ni kuwa muziki na dawa haviendani. Lakini muziki ni kipaji.
Kuna watu wengine wanashutumu wasanii wengine kwamba wanaroga.
Wanaroga, wale wasanii kama wanaroga ni kutokujiamini tu. Lakini kitu cha muhimu sana ni kipaji.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
All right, we have Tlotliso Molefi on the line, fitness expert and trainer at Misfit Gym based in Lesotho. That is for our fitness corner for today. When it comes to fitness, we often hear phrases, no pain, no gain. And the very popular one is you go hard or you go home. And have you seen those videos on Instagram and social media? People saying, go hard, man, go hard. And then you're like, hey, I'm not that guy. I'm not trying to get those kind of muscles. I'm just trying to stay healthy. And at times you like, okay, you have to kind of like just do things as long as you actually creating that movement and that momentum for yourself, but you're not as consistent as you should be, or maybe there isn't anything like you should be. That's the question we're asking. Why is it important to honor your body's rhythm while still chasing your fitness goals? Is it important? Also, the setbacks. Is it the fact that you're always not making that consistent decision, or is it just you making that effort to go enough? Let's talk to our guest, Tlotliso, on the line. Hey, Tlotliso, how are you doing? I'm good. Let's talk a little bit about this because we've been debating it for the last 2 hours off air on the show about whether, especially if you don't have a very good relationship with the gym, right? You just go, or maybe you don't have a good relationship even with your body and moving. You just do these things now and then. As long as you're getting it done, that's important, because some experts are saying just start with your pace, and then maybe, just maybe, you'll do it more consistently. Do you just go at your own pace?
Pacing yourself according to your fitness level is very important. A lot of times people come to the gym and they are just scared. They see these fit people, big people, six packs, and everything, and it's quite scary from somebody who's outside, right? But pacing yourself is quite important, and basically just taking things according to your fitness level. If you're a beginner, you really have to pace yourself. There's no other way. You can start on level 1 by going to level 2. You understand?
Mm-hmm. But what does that pacing yourself mean? Because at times we use that as a crutch, that I'll pace myself, but I'm actually not going. I'll go once a week or once a month,
Yeah, right. So in fitness, there's this thing we call progressive overload. It's basically, I will make an example from that, right? So let's say you start off gym today. You are only able to squat, let's say, 10 kg, right? So the idea of progressive overload is for you maybe next week, add a little bit of some weight to that squat. If you are on 10 kg, maybe add 0.5 kg on your next squat and see how you do. So that's what pacing actually is. If you are able to run a kilometer now, you are able to just squat 10 kg now. Maybe next week, let's try something a little bit more challenging, but by adding a little bit more to what you are already able to do. So that's what basically pacing yourself
Mhm.
is. You just put steps, small steps. You take small steps, and you just move forward from there.
That's interesting that you say that, because you're not saying pace yourself in a way where you're not consistent with going to your gym, or actually you are actually exercising. You're saying
Yeah.
basically do the stuff, go to the gym, but while you're actually doing the exercises themselves, pace yourself in how you're doing it, but still go. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Right. But still go. So different levels are different. There's
Okay.
no specific way where you can maybe write down what this person's level is. It's either you're a beginner, or you are intermediate, or you are professional. That's where the difference is. So by pacing yourself, you are basically just pacing according to how much your body can take. And from that, also having a guider or a coach is also important to actually have, because that way you have somebody who's watching from outside who can tell you that you might actually think you won't be able to do this much, but try it. And if you're able to do it, okay, that's great. Then let's also try to add a little bit more of a challenge to it, the following week or the following month. So that's what basically pacing yourself works like.
hmm And I mean, when you are pacing yourself, what are the measurements that you should be using that to notice that you are pacing yourself in a way that is good for you personally? Because, like you said, it's different for every person.
Yeah, it's quite different for everyone. So basically, when a person starts gym, there are a couple of things that me, for example, would look into. I'll test your strength. I will see how good you are at squatting, and maybe see if there's certain injuries you have, or your body symmetry is different in certain ways. Um, so by pacing yourself, you basically just have to learn how your body responds to lifting weights or running. Basically, just being in the gym.
hmm And what are those? How
Right.
do you determine that? What are you
Yeah.
looking at? I mean, is it how you feeling physically? Is it how tired you getting, or is it basically maybe you should, watch your BPM? What are those practical indicators of feeling out your pace?
Right. Um, so when you work out, right? Um, First thing is strength. Another thing is how you execute certain movements. I will go back to squats again, because that's one of the most famous movements, right? Some people are able to go into depth, really low squats. Some people are not able to go any lower. So if I'm gonna pace you, or if you're gonna pace yourself with squats, for example, if you cannot go any lower than you can, then your squats will just be in a range that you are able to go in, right? So your body is limiting you to go maybe this low. So by pacing yourself, then we are only just gonna stay on that certain depth of the squat. Also, it's also just how you listen to your body. You know, listening to your body is also more like a superpower, especially when you're starting out.
Mhm.
In the beginning, everything will just hurt. Stairs become your enemies, and brushing your teeth just feels like a bicep workout.
Mhm.
And but that soreness is what we call delayed onset muscle soreness, and it's just your body saying, "Hey, we did something new today." So
Okay.
it's part of the shock treatment. so you're gonna go through, that kind of pain.
All right, Lisa, let's take a bit of a break. I need to go to a break. Just hold on. You'll continue after the break. We're speaking to Tlotliso, fitness expert and trainer at Misfit Gym. He's joining us all the way from Lesotho. We'll continue this one. What pace do you measure in terms of exercise? How do you also make sure that you're not missing out on the benefits of being consistent? And I think that Tlotliso is directing this conversation in a way that's helpful for us. Let's find out more after the break.
Zochitika ndi madaphiri kamlondola wazochitika pena paliponse.
Nduna wa zamalonda ku Malawi aletsa kampani yopanga shuga ya Ilovo yomwe ndi nthambi ya Ilovo Sugar Group Limited kuti isiye kutumiza shuga ku maiko akunja. Malingana ndi nduna ya zamalonda Vitumbuko Mumba, izi zithandiza kuti shuga yemwe yakusowa pamsika azipezeka. Ndiye pano ndili ndi George Muhangu amene ali mu mzinda wa Blantyre mu dziko la Malawi. Chimene chikupangitsa kuti shuga azisowa ndi chani?
Chomwe chikupangitsa kuti shuga azisowa ndichonena kuti panopo ili ngati off season ya makampani a Ilovo Sugar Malawi, kunena kuti sakutha kupanga shugayi okwanira chifukwa akukolola. Ndiye akamaliza kukolola pameneno atayambeno sopano kugaya shugayi kuti azipezeka. Chinanso ndichonena kuti ma distributors amene akumakagula shuga kaya ndi ku Ilovo kaya ndi ku Salima Sugar akumagulisa ku maiko akunja ngati Zambia, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Mozambique.
Zochitika ndi madaphiri lolemba mpaka lachisanu pa nthawi ya 7 koloko kufikira 8 koloko madzulo pa Channel Africa.
9 to 12 midday Central African Time.
On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Yeah, fitness is not easy at all, and no matter where you are in your own fitness journey, whether you're a beginner or midway, we all have our own goals to set, but also we have our own paces that we need to follow. Unfortunately, a lot of us, in the pursuit of trying to look a particular way or trying to reach a certain goal, we might be comparing ourselves with others in the gym, whereas we have to actually look at our own pace and set that pace quite intentionally. We're speaking about this with fitness expert, a trainer at Misfit Gym, Tlotliso Molefe, who continues to join us on the line. Let's speak about, the variations of, fitness, because there are people who are just starting out. Of course, they might not really understand a lot about their body at that particular time. They might not even know how to listen to their body yet, as, the muscles in their body adjust to actually just movement in particular. And then there are those who are trying to build strength. There are those who are trying to lose weight. There are those who are just doing it to stay fit and stay healthy as well. So there are various reasons why people, get on a fitness journey or people start going to gym. Let's speak about listening to your body. How do you actually do that? Because I've heard people say, no, you must listen to your body. That's how you set your pace. But it's hard to do that, especially if you are someone who's not used to movement in that particular way.
Right. I would say listening to your body is more of a superpower, and it's something you're gonna have to build and acquire as your fitness journey progresses, right? So a lot of times when people come to the gym or they start off gym, either beginners or people who are already into the fitness journey, they always want to give it 100%. That is totally okay. Give it your 100, but that may not be realistic. Also learning how to listen to your body, you really have to be realistic. You might want to give it your 100 all the time, but you have to be realistic. Some days you might be able to give it 50%. Some days a 70, 100, sometimes a 30. But what's important is for you to show up, and by showing up consistently, you get to learn about your body. You get to learn that if I push myself way too hard when I do certain exercises, this is how my body is gonna respond. If I don't go to gym for a week and I cut off, my consistency, then this is basically how my body is gonna, respond. So on the first day, you may not know, but as time progresses and as you get guidance from your coach, you are going to learn and eventually acquire this superpower of being able to listening to your body.
Yeah. So what are some of the physical or even mental signs that you may be pushing yourself too hard, on your fitness journey?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I want to say, as much as we talk about consistency, right? It doesn't mean ignoring pain, right? Either mental pain or physical pains. It means knowing the difference between discomfort and actual pain or like actual injury, right? So progress requires pushing boundaries, of course, but never break boundaries. There's a thin line between pushing these boundaries and totally breaking them. So you have to rest and recover. This is not laziness at all. It's totally fine. It's actually sometimes you might feel that your body isn't just performing as great as it used to. Sometimes it might be more of a mental thing. You are going through something. Two people cannot have the same journey. Fitness journey. You might be going through something mentally, but your body wants to work out. That might mean, hey, you really have to, step back a little bit and maybe, rest. Your mind might be telling you that you have to go to gym, but your body might be going through the most and in need of rest. So you might feel fatigued, you might feel like you are not getting enough rest, or it's basically not possible for you to get rest as you sleep. So regarding that, you just have to try and listen to that. You cannot be the same as everybody else. So your journey is unique to you. So just listen to your body. You know that if you feel that mentally today you are not ready, but your body wants to work out, that might be a sign that maybe just step back a little bit and just watch from the outside.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up, so let's speak about results, because many of us on the varying degrees of our own fitness journeys think about the results that we want. So whether the results are, more strength if you're strength training, the actual weight loss if that's why you're going to the gym, or even mental wellness. Some people just do it to blow off some steam and for their mental wellness, and you can feel that that's happening. But sometimes we don't see the results that we need. So what advice do you have for those people who start feeling discouraged because they're not seeing the results? Are you there, Totliso?
Right, and it's quite. I'm still here.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
I was about to say that it is quite prevalent in fitness that people lose. They get demotivated as time goes, or it's something that actually happens. But people have to know that there's no such thing as a quick fix, really. Progress is progress. In fact, slow progress is sustainable, progress. Never go to gym and expecting to be, being in a fitness, basically don't go to gym and expect to get your results the same day.
Yeah.
Right. It's slow progress. And sometimes I tell people that as much as I call it slow progress, there's no such thing as slow progress. There's only steady progress. So 1% better each week is still better. That's just science and psychology, and it's way more likely to stick, than the go hard or go home approach that burns out people. Think of it like compound interest. You get these small gains consistently applied, and then leading to transformation. And that also brings me back to the principle that we have in fitness that's called progressive overload. It's in training, it's gradual increases in intensity that push your body to adapt. So yes, slow progress builds muscles. It sheds fats and builds confidence, brick by brick. Hanyane.
I love that. Well,
so
that's
here
definitely...
also at Misfit, we have that saying. We have that saying here at Misfit, hanyane hanyane, literally just meaning that, step by step, like every small step will lead to whatever goal that you want to achieve.
I love that. We'll leave it there, Tuti. So I think it's quite encouraging. Selina and I have our gym bags here today, and we're going to go and do it hanyani, step by step, bit by bit. We're going to achieve those goals eventually.
I'm going to hold your hands today and make sure you get there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Sensational. Love to hear it.
That is Tlotliso Molefi, fitness expert and trainer at Misfit Gym based in Lesotho, speaking to us about the progress at gym and also, making sure that you use your own pace and you set your own pace in your own fitness journey. It's 11:30 Central Africa time. Let's get our latest sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And a very good morning from the Sports Desk. I am Musibu Di Makura with your latest sports news at the Sawa. So Zimbabwe's opening batsman, that is Brian Bennett, has been ruled out of the rest of the test match against South Africa and did so on Sunday after being diagnosed with a mild concussion. So Bennett, who scored 139 runs on his previous test appearance against England in Nottingham just last month, had scored 19 of 24 balls on the second day of the match when he attempted a hook against fast bowler Kwena Maphaka and was struck on the helmet. After lengthy treatment on the field, the 21-year-old resumed batting and also faced 3 more deliveries in the next over from Cody Yusuf before walking off the field. Zimbabwe Cricket announcing then during the lunch break on Sunday that Bennett has been ruled out of the match and is in keeping, of course, with the concussion protocols, was replaced by Prince Masuvere. At the moment, South Africa on day 3, 149 for the loss of 4 wickets, now having a lead of 316 runs, stretching the lead, of course, on day 3, and it currently remains session 1 of this test match on day 3. South Africa's Football Association President Dr. Danny Jordan has continued to claim that he is a victim of a sustained media campaign after a motion to suspend him failed to materialize at the SAFA Congress in Sandton, Johannesburg. Now, building up on the lengthy anticipated Congress, it had been widely reported that Jordan was going to face a motion of no confidence over his involvement in a fraud as well as corruption case. After the step-aside motion, which was later withdrawn by 4 disgruntled SAFA regions, Jordan did not hold back in what he called a campaign against his name.
What the members recognize that there are 3 publications in the country out of more than 300 which consistently over the last year has beat the same drum and still went to beat it this morning. Nothing happened here. We had a successful Congress. We had dealt with all the reports. We had debates, and SAFA is intact. But if you read those 3 newspapers, you will see a different picture is generated. And we must just ask why? Why?
Right, so those 4 SAFA regions had called for the immediate provisional suspension of Jordan as well as the Chief Financial Officer Roni Hluyo due to their arrest as well as alleged involvement in fraud as well as corruption. Jordan says the case against him has no basis as the 3 theft charges against him as well as the CFO have already been withdrawn in court.
Of the matters that's in the court, 3 matters that have already been withdrawn. And you must go and see what it relates to. It relates to the very issues that you raise. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. They went to tell the Hawks that the payment to SAFA President's Hotel is a payment to SAFA President. It's false. It's wrong. But that drum, you are still beating it.
On to tennis news now. Carlos Alcaraz starts his bid for a third successive Wimbledon men's title, with while the women's world number one, Aryna Sabalenka, will be in the spotlight as the grass court Grand Slam gets underway later on today. As the headline act in the 138th championship, it is fitting that Alcaraz will open on centre court when the world number two faces 30-year-old Italian Fabio Fognini. The 22-year-old Spaniard's clay court credentials are firmly established, but he's equally dynamic on grass. Alcaraz has won 29 of his 32 tour-level matches on the surface, with his last defeat at Wimbledon coming just against Yannick Sinner in the last 16 back in 2022. Alcaraz is bidding to become the fifth man in the Open era to win at least 3 consecutive Wimbledon titles, after 7-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic having, of course, won this competition 7 times. Bjorn Borg, Roger Federer, as well as Pete Sampras being the other winners of Wimbledon. Meanwhile, Iga Swiatek criticised the relentless tennis calendar on Sunday, with the former world number one saying that players should not be forced to compete in more than 20 tournaments a year to maintain their rankings. Now ranked 4th in the world, Swiatek described being trapped in a system where she had to choose between representing a country as well as focusing on herself after she reluctantly decided to skip Poland's Billie Jean King Cup qualifier in April. The 11-month grind has been one of the cornerstones of the lawsuit filed by the Professional Tennis Players Association against the sport's governing bodies in March, after the union described it as unsustainable. Swiatek is the 8th seed at Wimbledon this year and will face Paulina Kudermetova in the first round on Tuesday. And that's a wrap from the Sports Takes as this hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Mosibu Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Kwa nini wanamuziki wengi sana wa kizazi kipya hawafiki mbali pale wanapofanya muziki?
Ni kwa sababu kitu cha kwanza ambacho naweza nikaongelea nikagusia zaidi sana ni kusema kuwa wale wasanii wanapotoa ngoma yao ya kwanza, ikiwa kama kahiti kidogo tu, wanaanza kutamba mitaani, wanaonekana kama wapo zaidi.
Kuna wanamuziki wengine ambao wanakimbilia kwa waganga wa jadi. Hivi muziki na dawa vinaendana?
Kitu cha kwanza naweza nikasema ni kuwa muziki na dawa haviendani. Lakini muziki ni kipaji.
Kuna watu wengine wanashutumu wasanii wengine kwamba wanaroga.
Wanaroga, wale wasanii kama wanaroga ni kutokujiamini tu. Lakini kitu cha muhimu sana ni kipaji.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Thank you, Musibudi Makura. Let's get our latest business news with Chandu Goligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning. 2 former executives of the South African state rail company Transnet are appearing in the Palm Ridge Magistrate Court in Ekurhuleni after handing themselves over to the police this morning. Their appearance is linked to an alleged fraudulent $5 million locomotive tender. In 2012, Transnet went on a tender for the acquisition of the more than 1,000 locomotives deal. The executives are charged in connection with an irregular payment of $5 million to Trillion Asset Management for organizing a $1.6 billion loan to help buy the locomotives. It was a double payment, as Transnet had already paid another transaction adversary firm, Regiments. Trillion allegedly did nothing to earn the fee but invoiced Transnet. Disgruntled Metro bus commuters believe the pay-per-kilometre system will be expensive and unaffordable. Metrobus says the newly introduced payment system, which comes into effect tomorrow, will see commuters pay only for the distance they have travelled. The Johannesburg Bus Company believes the system is fair and that commuters who were consulted on it Metrobus commuter Tembisile Shabalala says the city's bus operator should instead be focusing on improving its poor services. In other news, Egypt's economy grew by 4.77% in the third quarter of its 2024-25 fiscal year, up from 2.2% in the same quarter a year earlier as manufacturing activity recovered. The fiscal year runs from July to June. Manufacturing activity grew by 16.3% in the third quarter, recovering from a 3.9% decline in the same quarter of the previous fiscal year. Oil and natural gas extraction continued to decline, contracting by 10.38%. U.S. senators have been debating a contentious tax and spending bill late into the night. Democrats who are fiercely opposed to the legislation are trying to delay a final vote on the bill. U.S. President Donald Trump is keen to sign it into law by the 4th of July public holiday. Few Republicans have spoken so far, while the Democrats have repeatedly denounced the bill, particularly for cutting health care coverage for millions of poor Americans. The Senate Minority Leader Democrat Chuck Schumer said the bill would inflate the already vast national debt for the U.S.
Republicans are about to pass the single most expensive bill in U.S. history to give tax breaks to billionaires while taking away Medicaid, SNAP benefits, and good-paying jobs for millions of people. CBO just this morning said it will explode the debt by $3.3 trillion.
Still in North Africa, Canada has announced the scrapping of a digital service tax hours before it was due to take effect. On Friday, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to end trade talks with Ottawa and impose new tariffs because of the planned tax. The BBC's Ian McWilliam has the details.
The Canadian Department of Finance said in a statement that the digital services tax would be rescinded in anticipation of a comprehensive trade arrangement with the United States. The planned tax would have hit major U.S. tech companies, including Amazon, Meta, and Apple. Ottawa said it was introduced because large technology companies operating in Canada would otherwise not pay tax on revenues generated there. President Trump's threatened new tariffs, however, would have thrown U.S.-Canada trade into chaos again after months of relative calm.
Your financial indicators at this hour: $1 US in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 Naira 541, Botswana 13 Pula 29, Kenya the dollar is at 128 shilling 534, Zambia 23 Kwacha 65. BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is at 5 Real 48, Russia 78 rubles 43, India 85 rupee 41, China 7 yuan 16, South Africa 17 rand 80 cents. $1 is at 72 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is at $3,294, platinum at $1,368 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil at $67.53 a barrel. That is all from me. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African Perspective. Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the
This one is titled "Forgive Us Our Trespasses." It's 11:47 Central Africa time. Very interesting conversation we just had on fitness, and that's the thing, right? A lot of us go in and out of different fitness journeys, and there are those that really love the gym. I know people, when I go to the gym, I know for sure they're always there. In fact, I'm so shocked when I don't see them there, and I know there must be a good excuse. I'm the complete opposite. I am inconsistent, and I go whenever I feel like it, but I don't really have I don't put high value on those fitness goals, and I do have a few fitness goals, but they have to do with the things that aren't really a lot fitness related. So it depends, right? Some people really enjoy the gym, and sometimes you are comparing yourself to those people because you see them there every day. They're consistent, but you know what? They're actually doing something that they really love to do. And for some of us who don't really particularly love the gym but still have fitness goals that that we'd like to achieve. Some of us mental health goals, some of us strength goals, some of us health goals that we need to achieve through the gym. We have to understand that, setting our own pace is not just about going whenever you feel like it, but also being intentional about the reasons why you go there and, the journey that you're going to have at the gym. So I love the conversation we had with Lotliso, and I think we had a lot of great advice on not pushing yourself too hard, not comparing yourself, because many of us do have, that problem of comparing ourselves to other people and just wanting to be like them, not really understanding some of the background factors that have them achieving their fitness goals in the way that they do. So yeah, let's get the conversations going on our social media platforms. We are still live on Facebook and we are still live on YouTube, so we really enjoy hang out with you there as you go in and out of our stream. Let us know where you're tuned in from on the African continent and the world over, and of course engage in the conversations of the day. Our WhatsApp line is always open. It still is +27 63406 9126. We're about to wrap up the show though. In a couple of minutes we'll find out what's coming up on the Africa Update that happens right after the show that's on the move and for the next hour. But Lulu Kabu will come in and let us know exactly what to expect today. It's 11:50 Central Africa time. Before we wrap, let's take a break.
Ikiwa wewe ni msanii chipukizi na unayetaka kutambulisha muziki wako kwa hadhira pana, au unataka kutangaza muziki wako kwenye redio, tunaweza kusaidia, lakini kuna mambo machache unayoweza kufanya ili kuongeza nafasi zako za kufaulu. Tutumie muziki wako kupitia music@channelafrica.co.za. Tazama, tunahitaji maelezo yafuatayo kusaidia vyema: lebo, alama ya siri ya ISRC, kichwa, mwigizaji, mtunzi, mchapishaji, mwandishi, lugha na aina. Sikiliza wimbo wako kwenye redio, wimbo bora wa siku yako. Ukiwa na Channel Africa na muziki wako, hutawahi kuchoshwa kwa sababu tutacheza muziki wako. Pata uzoefu bora zaidi katika muziki wa Kiafrika, mtazamo wa Kiafrika.
Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move. Only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act.
Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa.
It's 11 o'clock Central African time. Uga Boy is giving us that bubbly one titled Kologo Sa, featuring Tyra Chanty there on that one. Lulu's joining us right now, where it's about time for us to leave and for her to come in. Hey Lulu, how was the weekend?
Weekend was good, very cold, very
cold.
Still
especially
very cold.
Like last night.
Yeah, just horrible. But anyways, just keeping warm and staying indoors.
Yeah,
right?
Joburg is cold. Hey,
it's very cold. Actually, most parts of the country are cold.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's a happy Monday, and what we're focusing on today on Africa Update, the police in Malawi and the country's defense have been accused of failing to carry out their duties to protect their fellow citizens. We're going to be speaking to Malawi's Human Rights Commission Chief Executive Officer Habiba Osman, and they'll unpack this for us and exactly what the Human Rights Commission there is demanding with regards to how they observe the policing and the defense forces' actions or inaction. So we'll unpack that, and they'll explain exactly what they expect the Malawi police to do in correcting what they've observed. And then also Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni announcing that he intends to contest for next year his presidential election. It's going to be a very interesting one, with the African leaders, the age. You look at Malawi as well. The one of the lead contestants is 83 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and it just highlights the age issue, the ageism when it comes to leaders on the African continent. It's something that we'll be speaking to our correspondent Mike Arareng, who'll unpack for us exactly what this means and the reaction from the citizens of Uganda in terms of this, and a lot more. The DRC also in the spotlight. We'll be focusing on that, but stay tuned to hear exactly how the day progresses. It's only an hour, but it's a jam-packed hour.
Oh, well, we're looking forward to it, Lulu. Well, it's the last few minutes of the show. We're going to leave it with this one titled Last. Of course, it's by Burna Boy. Until next time, from myself, Benjamin Moshatama, and Palesa, God bless.
We don't cast. Last. Now everybody go to a breakfast.
And Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa.
Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa.
Why you say I did nothing for you when if I do anything you want me to do? Maybe another time, maybe another life. You will be my wife and we'll get it right. You don't cast, last. Now everybody go job breakfast. Have to say bye-bye, yo. Bye-bye, yo. To the love of my life.